All right. In three. Oh.
I'll start
All
on that.
right. In three, two, one. What's going on, everyone? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to another episode of the Conflict Management Podcast. We are an MMA podcast. It is I, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Half Man, Half Amazing, the awkward, awesome one, Mr. Main Event, Samban Janai, Niban Janai, Nazeda, Tashwa Ichiban desu. Not number three, not number two. Why? Because I'm number one. A little Duolingo Japanese for you right there to start off the pod. And my co-host,
The man who will be in the Hall of Fame and only needs one name. It's Edon. Back at it again. We're here. And you have the start off point for where we're going this week.
yeah, yes I do. Actually, I was rocking with that intro. The intro, hey, we hit these intros, hey, you know, top tier. Uh, like Craig said, top flight security of the world, Craig. But yeah, last night's fight card. I was gonna get your opinion. Hyder Amil, I believe his name was.
Mm.
That fight, what a way to start off a fight card. Like,
Yeah.
did that for anyone who didn't see, it was a fight called it's the Korean Tiger. I gotta remember his name. That's probably one of the coolest nicknames I've seen of the newer nicknames, like newer fighters. One of the cooler ones, right? One of the coolest. I say maybe top five, top 10. The Korean Tiger. When they said he was making his debut, I said, "Oh, that's a fire nickname." I didn't know either of one of these guys prior to yesterday. But then when I saw the name, I was like, okay, Korean Tiger, okay, cool. I guess I'm gonna go for this dude because winner of the road to UFC, um, had a cool nickname, was like 11-1. I said, okay, I'll go for him. And then they got into it and was just fireworks. That fight was only 65 seconds, but it had the intensity of a Category 5 storm.
Yeah.
38 hit combo. Like, did you end up seeing it?
Yeah. So I was I was not really expecting that. I mean, like
Me either.
the the Apex cards are really like hit or miss with like fight quality in general. And then usually like when guys are already signed to the promotion, it's you usually expect like, okay, you're in the apex, it's quieter, you can hear your coaches, so it'll probably be more calm because there's no like big crowd to like amp you up and get you going. So usually you get like fewer fast finishes like that where people are just going off rip. But like for whatever reason, I couldn't figure it out. But like he off rip, it was just like let's get it now, like a Dana White Contender Series successful fight style of like this
Mhm.
is my one shot and I'm taking it. But then I looked afterwards and Hyder Emil is already 34 years old. He just turned
Oh,
34
he
back
was
in.
fighting like
Yeah.
he was fighting like he was 34. He said, "Hey, bro, it is either now or never. It is time. We about to throw down. I ain't got forever to make an impact."
Well, that's the thing is like at featherweight, you're already 34 years old and you're undefeated in your MMA career, but you only have now 10 fights. So it's he's definitely on like a I didn't see the pre, so I don't know what if he used to be something else. I would guess he did. I wouldn't think like at 30 you're going to start your MMA career.
Randy Couture, didn't he start
Oh,
off like super late in his career?
yeah, but wasn't he also like wrestling or something before that?
I'm not sure. I think he did. I think he was, but
Yeah, that's what like so Alex technically started his career super late and like so
yeah,
did Cyril too, but
yeah.
like those guys also had professional careers in other sports first. So
Hmm.
I don't know if that's the case with Emil, but he's definitely on that same sort of like when Alex first came to the UFC and he was like getting in there to get down immediately. He was not trying to play like games. He's like, "Hey, I don't have long in this sport, so I'm coming to get it. Like book me and book me now ASAP."
Because if is was this Hyder Emil's first fight?
Uh
Because like UFC debut. I mean,
No,
Because I
so
know I'm
it's
pretty sure this was.
he was on the Contender Series last year. He had a fight in
Mhm.
February that he won by KO in the second round, and then just now the KO in the first round, the first minute.
Okay, so
So
this
he
is the
might get
second
up
fight.
3 times this year.
Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, because both of them were fighting like, hey, y'all gonna remember us.
Yeah.
We may be pulling the curtains open, like being the main card opening, but you ain't gonna forget it. Like, and you're so right about the prelims because I feel like the prelims. I think some people kind of sleep on the like not the prelims, the fight nights. People sleep on the
Mhm.
fight nights sometimes where if like for example this one didn't have any really big names, wasn't any like it was a lot of people either on the come up or just people who are having a debut, no big star power like an Israel Adesanya or like an Alex Pereira or a Tom Aspinall, Leon Edwards, Lupe Godinez, Wei Lee, you know what I mean? Like any like superstar power, like, oh, this is gonna be a fire card, like London card. London cards packed like crazy. King Green, you got Leon versus Bilal, you got Tom Aspinall versus Curtis
Curtis
Blades.
Blades.
The entire card. I think Arnold Allen's on that card too. So that one's gonna be crazy. But this one, I think sometimes when people see those like fight nights, I know like going into it, I know some people were kind of like, I don't know if I'm watching, but those I feel like that's for me. I personally enjoy watching all of them just because I feel like it's cards like these that might be sleepers, like what I mean, sleeper cards, where it's just like on paper, like when you first see it when you first see it, it may not stand out to you directly. There's nothing that may stand out directly, but I feel like in those kind of fight cards, you find those like diamond in the roughs, where it may just be an amazing card. It's either going to be hit or miss, where it may be a slow one, like the prelims, all decisions, right?
Yeah.
But the main card, straight out of the gate, with the with that 38 punch combo. Insane. That's some Street Fighter 6, some Tekken 8 type stuff. This man was hitting up down, up down, XYB, XYBA. Hitting that square, triangle, circle, X, that square, triangle, up, down, diagonal, diagonal, whole circle, X. Like that dude was hitting everything except for like throwing everything out there. But also the Korean Tiger, that dude got a chin on him.
Yeah.
He took like 38 punches and did 38 power punches and did not go down
Yeah. I
at
mean,
all.
the kind of like end of the fight, you were definitely just kind of waiting for the ref to step it because he wasn't really gonna fall down or like go down and like shell up and protect himself. Like, he was just standing and eating more of it, and you were like, okay, I think we could stop right now if that's all right. Like, it's not a title fight. We can step
Ref,
in.
right? You're like, ref, anytime now. No, but it was a good fight. It was a great way to start off for the main card. And also, I think just like the Contender series, the road to UFC has been putting out some talent, you know, like exciting people. Like you got the Korean Tiger who just won, and then the Rinya Nakamura from Japan. That dude is amazing, future champ in my opinion. He's been undefeated. He's been on some Bo Nickel undefeated type stuff, like phenomenal wrestler. Just been this just engaging his way like through bantamweight. Ray Saruya also wrote to UFC. Like, there's been some really from Japan as well. Represent. Um, there's been some really great talent that's come out of that. Buddy, just do you watch? Have you seen it
Um, no,
or know what
it's
it is?
I'm aware of what it
Mhm.
is, and I know that like sometimes during the cards they like show clips of
Mhm,
guys on like Road to UFC, and you could see the like branding. But
mhm.
much like the Ultimate Fighter, I haven't sat down and like given my time to it yet.
Then, hey, speaking of Ultimate Fighter, right? Oh, we're gonna get back to this in a second. Road to
Mm.
anyone who doesn't know, Road to UFC is this like the UFC is trying to find like the best talent in Asia that hasn't been signed to the UFC, like the best fighters in Asia who aren't currently signed to the UFC. Like they kind of like work their way up through a tournament type thing and to win, be get into UFC. But the Ultimate Fighter, man, the Ultimate Fighter this season has been great. I've been enjoying it a lot. And also Alexa Grasso's winning, which makes me even happier. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
I'm a fan of Valentina, but you already know I'm Team Grasso all day, every day since 2016. Like when I heard Alexa Grasso was gonna be one of the coaches for the Ultimate Fighter, I said, "Count me in. I will. I will be there every episode." I mean, like I enjoy the Ultimate Fighter in general, but Alexa Grasso is one of my favorites. So I was like, "Oh." And then Team Lobo's camp, yo, they are putting out just amazing contenders, champions. Yo, they are putting they got a camp. You know what I mean? You got Alex Rosso, who's amazing. Enough said. Got Luffy Godinez, also amazing. Also one of my favorites. Enough said. Only woman in UFC history to fight 5 times in and win 5 times in a calendar year. That's crazy. Like she's a future champion. I think strawweight because I don't think there's many people who can beat Wei Li. I really don't think so. I think the only people who stand a chance, in my opinion, is Lupe Godinez, who will be a future champion. Or
Were you
Tatiana
not?
Suarez.
Were you not at least a little bit impressed with the main event?
No, I was. I was impressed with the main event. I will
Okay.
say that I was impressed. Virna Jandiroba, I believe I said her name right.
Yeah.
She did a great job. And she is deserving of a title shot.
Mm.
And I think that she should get a title shot. Or if they do it like her versus Tatiana Suarez for like a number one contenders, I understand that. You know what I mean? If they did one more fight before Wei Li and they be like, hey, um, we fight one more time and then fight Tatiana Suarez, and if you clear her, boom, you get the Wei Li fight
Mm.
because I think it's a bigger build because uh she beat Lupi, she beat Amanda Lemos, two very top tier fighters, and then if they decide to give her the fight off that, boom, that'll be a good fight. But I think Wei Li is I give it 70-30 Wei Li for that fight. Like Virna is good, but Wei Li is great. And I think that sometimes you got in order to be in order to be good's good, but not good enough to be great. You know, sometimes you need to be excellent. I feel like because Wei Li is just a phenomenal champion, a phenomenal fighter. Like the
Mm.
strength, the striking, the grappling. I think she's the only woman in the women's division right now that I know of who can pick Francis Ngannou, former heavyweight champion of the world, who is 265 during fight camp, 265 pounds and probably 270, maybe 280, maybe 290 outside of camp. And how big is and this dude is like 6'3"? How big is Wei Li? Like straw weight is what 125 pounds?
Uh, 115.
115?
Mm.
Even more crazier, Wei Li is 115 pounds and what, like 5'3"?
5'4".
5'4"? See, I'm close. Hey, the she is 5'4" and 115 pounds and picked up Francis Ngannou, former UFC heavyweight champion, who's walking around 270, probably 280, easy. Like she just said, yeet. don't know too many people who are just doing that, just for funsies, you know. And also, if you know anyone who's seen the fight, seen Wei Li fight, she's great. Like I think that like I feel like there's a reason why she was nominated for she was up for a fighter of the year
Yeah.
this year,
Well,
you know.
it's she's carried that kind of top end of the division, waiting for kind of more opponents.
Waiting for Loopy.
And it's I was just looking at it, and Tatiana hasn't fought since last August.
Hmm.
So we're coming up on a year since her last fight, and I'm just kind of wondering, like, is there an injury and like either it got announced and I just forgot about it, or like was she waiting for the title shot? And if so, like, when is Wei Li gonna turn that back around? Because she just fought in April of this year, so she's still probably got a few more months, you would think, before she's ready to turn it back around for her second title defense of the year.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too. It could be she's just waiting for the right fight because you know if I'm not mistaken, Tatiana Suarez is pretty high up in the rankings, right?
Yeah, she's definitely top three. Let me check.
And I feel like she's top five, top three, if I'm not mistaken.
Uh, she
Because
is the number one contender on the
so
rankings.
I think that yeah, because like I said, the only two people I think could beat Wei Li because I think Wei Li will be champion for a long time. I think Wei Li will go on a Valentina type run, and the only two people that I think could possibly stop Wei Li or like Wei Li's run and become the next champion is Luffy Godinez and Tatiana Suarez. Because Tatiana Suarez, phenomenal fighter, great wrestler. Oh man, she's a really great wrestler. I think that that would be a fun fight to see. And I do think it's 50-50
Mm.
for Wei Li versus Tatiana Suarez. And I think Luffy, I think maybe it's just me, but I say 60-40, maybe 50-50, 60-40, you know what I mean? Um, Luffy's got really good striking, really good wrestling. I think the cardio, she got the cardio. I think she's got the person. She got like I think Luffy has everything to become champion, right? Like a great champion, right? She's got the charisma. She's got the personality. She's got the the striking. She got an exciting style. The striking, the grappling. You remember when she hit the I forgot what's her name. It was like a six-piece combo. It was like bah, 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 bah. And then she went for the power double takedown. Like, yo, like I said, she's got the strength, she's got the grappling, she got the cardio, she got the personality. You know what I mean? She's got the charisma, you know, the coolness. Yo, she's I think she just is just waiting for her opportunity, you know, because she fights Mackenzie Dern uh August 3rd, if I'm not mistaken. And I say that's a good that's while I'm a fan of Mackenzie Dern and Loopy. I say Loopy Godinez wins that fight. She takes that fight, boom. Because what is Loopy right now? 5,
Number 10 in the
10?
rankings.
Okay.
Hmm.
So, oh yeah, that's right. Because then if she would have beat Janjaroba, she would have been 5, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like maybe. But she's number 10. And then where's Dern? 7?
Yes, 7.
Boom. Take that fight, go up to 7. Boom. Take the next fight. I think she maybe, I think Loopy's like three fights away. But Verna, she did a great job, and I do think that will be a like an interesting fight. But I still say um, Whaley is just so good that I say 70-30. While I was impressed with the fight,
Mm.
just based on Loopy, the not Loopy's, Whaley's past fights, I think that it will be a good fight. But I think just standing up, standing on the feet, I don't see how Whaley loses that fight. Just for me personally, but what do you think?
Well, it'll be interesting to see like where it goes, because the only thing I was able to find quickly while I was just sitting here was uh, that 6 months ago Tatiana Suarez pulled out of. She was gonna fight Amanda Lemos on UFC
Oh, that'd have been a good
298,
fight.
and she pulled out of that for what she said was a minor injury that wasn't going to keep her out for an extended period of time. So it's she doesn't have anything booked to the best of my knowledge. Uh, so are they trying to put that together? And then if they are or if they were, is when the rankings come out on, I think they come out Tuesday.
I think so.
It's Are they going to put Virna ahead of Tatiana based on activity and the level of that performance? She just took out the number three of the division uh, in the first round by submission, and didn't look like she had to work super hard for it. She made it look kind of easy. So
Oh yeah, she did a great job. Like it was an impressive win.
right, and with Tatiana not fighting since last August, is that enough to jump her in the rankings? Like it might be, and that at that point, is the UFC going to put that together and say like, well, as much as we like the upside with Tatiana, we have to get her healthy first and like prove that she can defend the title and like keep the division moving before we can give her a shot at holding the belt. Because like if she gets to the fight, wins the fight, and then she can't defend for like a whole nother year or something like that, like that's not the situation the UFC is looking for. So I wonder if off the back of pulling out of her fight in January and then having not fought now for almost a full year, if they might go Virna first, get Tatiana like a fight in the meantime just to see, can you stay healthy? Can you like make it to the fight? And then if she can come through that, maybe then they look at it. But it'll be interesting to see like with the rankings and like where it ends up, because I mean it's you got to think it's Whaley just put it up in April, so
Hmm.
you're looking at least the end of the year
Yeah,
for now,
probably like
because like
maybe
nothing's announced.
November.
So like you're looking November, December-ish, and the UFC's got their schedule till the end of the year right now. So they got to be working on it, assuming Whaley's healthy. So it'll just be interesting. I think Tatiana might get jumped over here, and it's as far as her chances with it, I think Whaley's still the favorite, but I don't know. There was moments in the Yan Xiaonan fight that, like, going into that fight, I was confident that Whaley was gonna win and like blow her away, and she kind of didn't. There were like moments where Yan was able to stick in there and like make her work, and there were points where she looked kind of tired. Like she still gutted it out, and it was a real like champion's performance. But it's I rate Virna higher than I rate Yan Xiaonan. So if Yan
Yeah,
Xiaonan was able to have moments, I think maybe Virna can have rounds. So like maybe I'm not
that's
picking
valid.
her to win, but like
Uh-huh.
maybe she takes like two of the rounds and it's like a really well fought, close, like maybe
Hmm.
even a split decision.
Yeah, take it to like the end, take it to the championship rounds. I do agree that like I have Vierna over Yao Shannon because same during the Yao Shannon Wei Li fight, I did have Wei Li steamrolling Yao Shannon. Like going into the fight, I thought Wei Li was gonna steamroll her.
Mm.
But it kind of didn't happen that way. Like Wei Li put on a champion's performance and really like pulled it out. Pulled out the win. But Yao Shannon prove like, hey, I'm not about to just become another like stepping stone on this like ladder to greatness. Like she like you said had her moments and she really did um put in a proper effort. Do With that being said, I do have Virna over her, and maybe Virna does like surprise the world because that is always a chance that that could happen. Like the Silva fight from Saturday, that dude was getting beat up, to put
Yeah.
it like kindly. Like he looked like he was about to be sent on his way home, just being like, "Hey, here's your hat. Where's your hurry? Great job, good try." And
I
at the
mean, like, I don't know
like
about you, but like I started walking away to go like get something
do
from the
other
fridge.
stuff.
Yeah, just because I was like, oh well, like he's handling him on the ground right now, and like I didn't see how he was gonna get back into the fight. I was like, okay, he's already banked like almost 2 rounds now. Like I'm gonna go ahead and like get a drink, get myself sorted, get ready for the next fights, and then like I
Out
walk
of
back over
nowhere.
and he's got him in all sorts of trouble, and then the referee's coming on. I'm like, what?
Dude, I was eating. I got the dinner. You know what I mean? I'm sitting there eating, watching the fights. I'm just like, okay, cool. And I thought, oh, this is gonna be like a clear win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For the other guy. And I was watching it like, okay, yeah, this has been decided. Like this guy's gonna win because he was definitely working him on the feet. And because and then I saw the wrestling tattoo, and
Mm.
I was like, he's a wrestler. I'm going for him, and he was working him over because I believe that was yeah, that was because they were both a part of the ATT.
Mm.
So I thought the fight, I was just like, okay, hey, this was a good fight, good effort, but that guy definitely won. The wrestler definitely won that. And then towards the end, out of nowhere, I went to look down. I was like, I looked down for a second. I heard, and then I looked, as soon as I looked up, the uppercut out of nowhere. And they was like, ah! And then the fight was over. And I was just like, wow, what a comeback. What a way to pull it out of the fire. So who knows? Like they said, like any given Sunday, um, any team could win. And I feel like that same applies to MMA. You know what I mean? It
Mm.
applies to the UFC. You never know what could happen. So Vieira may shock the world and really go have a moment like that, or have like a Leon Edwards moment, a Leon Edwards in Utah moment. I think that was in Utah when he knocked out Kamaru, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he may have a Leon Edwards headshot bang moment where he hits him with the shakata and surprises the world. But I do still have uh Wei Lee as the favorite on that fight.
Yeah.
But circle back, like you said, to the Ultimate Fighter.
Mhm.
I know that the Ultimate Fighter, like we're both fans of it. I've been watching it for probably. Well, I've watched. I would like to say most of the Ultimate Fighters, or a decent amount of the Ultimate Fighters. Right. I think this one might be the best season they've had in a while, in my personal opinion,
Is it
because
better than ATT versus the Black Zillions?
I would. I don't know. I would
Because that was
say
the last season that I remember enjoying.
because I would say that like the I would say that like the uh in my opinion the that one was a good season because that was a season Rampage and Rashad Evans was coaching, right? Or no?
No, that was a different one.
Oh, that was different. Okay.
Yeah.
Um Memories again fog you. But I would say yeah, that one was a good season. The Rampage one was good, right? I would say that this season goes. I don't know if it's better than that one just because it's
Mhm.
been such a long time since I've seen it. But I would say it goes into that category of like, hey, these were the seasons that were really good. Because I think that's one of the things that the Ultimate Fighter been has been needed in a while. Like,
Mhm.
oh, because the last couple of seasons were like they were cool, they were good. Like I enjoyed them. But I'm gonna watch most of them anyway, so I enjoyed the seasons. But as far as like getting people to watch it and really enjoy it, I think we talked about it once off air. Just like something needs to happen where maybe switching up the formula, maybe
Mhm.
introducing some new elements, something because I remember when I first started watching The Ultimate Fighter, oh, I was, you're locked in. You know what I mean?
Mm.
It was really interesting. It was like, oh man, you can hear the stories. There was like interesting people. There's so many like really top tier people who came out of the Ultimate Fighter. You know what I mean? Like Juliana Pena, some very memorable people. Rose Namajunas. You know what I mean? Uh, what's this? Forrest Griffin, Nate Diaz. You know what I
I
mean?
mean, pretty
Like,
much anybody that you can name in like the early UFC years all came to like that season one
all the
cast.
stars.
Almost all of them made it.
Yeah, all the stars, like, you know what I mean? Like, there was a lot of stars that was made from it. And I think that the beginning of the Ultimate Fighter, I remember being like, oh man, like that, right? And then, there's certain seasons I remember clearly who the winner was. And there's like a handful of seasons in the middle where it's kind of like, you know what I mean? It's just like,
Mm.
as far as like what happened that season, who won, there's kind of like foggy, but they did a really great, like last season, the Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler season had a lot of hype behind it.
Yeah.
And then it kind of like died out towards the middle of it. This season, man, they've done such a great job with it. Where it's, the last season was like 1-6. So it was kind of one sided, but this season it's been really close. It's 4-3 right now. 4-3 Alexa Grasso. And they've been, it's the most diverse Ultimate Fighter they've had, where there's like 16 countries that are being represented this season. Like there's people from uh, South Africa, Lithuania, the U.S., Canada, Mexico, Brazil. A lot of really interesting people and characters and their stories. You know what I mean? Uh, Probably my favorite person from this season is, I believe his name is Robert Valentin from like Switzerland. I think he's Swiss. I think he's from Switzerland. I know his name's Robert. Uh, this dude has, I think he has everything you need to become like a star in the UFC. He has the personality, like a really engaging personality that makes you be like interested. He kind of, how like Yuri has this like uh Czech samurai kind of like
Mm.
the Bushido Code of Honor type thing. Imagine that, but just a Viking version of Yuri.
Oh, he was the one
That's
that was sleeping outside, right? In
Yeah,
the
he was the one who was like sleeping outside because he felt like the elements helped him or whatnot. Like it was good to get absorb the elements and whatnot. And that dude, he's got the little Naruto tattoo going on as well. And probably the fastest fight in Ultimate Fighter history. He came out there. He was like, he's got the runes tattoo on. He's just like, when you hear him talk, he is a very like he has this like this presence about him, right? Like I feel like he has that like uh maybe too, but that championship aura about him, that kind of charisma. You're very like very interesting person that you want to hear more about, right? He came
Mm.
in there, pop, 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 elbow knockout in the very first round, like first 10 seconds. Yo, he's got the personality, he's got the charisma, he's got the fighting style, he's got an exciting style, he's a striker. Like I think that he's my pick personally to win the entire show. And actually, he's I think the first person I've ever seen in the Ultimate Fighter, or first person that I can remember off the top of my head. Uh, who after that he kind of went up to Lex Grasso and was like, "Hey, would you mind if I help coach the other fighters? Like he won his match. It's gonna be a minute before he fights again." And he was just like, "That's something he really wanted to get into and learn more about, and then help with the coaching side of it." And he's done a good job. I feel like coaching fighters during their matches. The other fighters, yeah, and I think they've done. I think so far, I've watched every single episode and have enjoyed the fights so far. So Ultimate Fighter is back. Uh, I would say if you get the chance, I would say it's worth going back and like looking at, because there's been some. This is a season I would go and watch. But
It definitely
one of
sounds more interesting because it's. I know like some of the like Ultimate Fighter, especially like the winners of the past like couple of years, have been having like a rough go. So hopefully we can get like whoever wins this season will actually like go on and like elevate the brand by doing something because like you had Kamaru's brother that was on the prelims I think of this
oh
last
yeah, and you
fight
lost
night
again.
and he lost and I didn't watch the fight but I heard that it was a very disappointing not fun fight to watch. So you have
Say
him,
I
you have
heard the same.
the one guy who like uh I forget his name but he had already won the Ultimate Fighter before and then he came back and won it again.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, and like I don't know what he's doing right now. Uh, I mean, it's. I feel like there was a time where everybody knew who like the last 3 or 4 Ultimate Fighter winners were, and like it was something that followed them around, like Kelvin Gastelum and guys like that.
Yeah,
And now it's like maybe you remember like some of them, but now like
yeah.
it's kind of
I think
was
yeah,
he?
I
Wasn't
would
he?
I agree with it. It's like there was a time where uh like yeah, like you said, you remembered who won the Ultimate Fighter and what they were doing because I feel like during like that beginning stage when we first got into the sport, the there were so many stars that came from the Ultimate Fighter so many fighters that started on their journey on the Ultimate Fighter who went on to become stars, right? Like we
Yeah,
just said, uh, Juliana Pena, Nate Diaz, Forrest Griffin. You know, what I mean, there's so many dudes and ladies who were just like who became stars. And I think that this dude, Rob Valentin, the Viking, I think he has the potential. If he wins, I really do feel like he has the potential to become like to restore that kind of like return to form, kind of like where like you have a star that came from the Ultimate Fighter. Like you know how like the Contender series I think is now that. I
yeah.
feel like the Contender series now is what the Ultimate Fighter used to be, where it was like creating stars.
It's
Like
definitely
think
been like a respect shift where it's like the first seasons of the Contender series, everybody's kind of like, well, what is this? Like, we already have the Ultimate Fighter, and we have like you could just sign these guys. Like, what's going on with that? So like, respect was kind of low, and then it was kind of like a low budget kind of production, and it didn't like feel like the UFC necessarily. Like, remember they had like Snoop Dogg commentating
mhm.
on it with
Oh,
Uriah
that was
Faber.
fun.
I
That
know it
was
was
fun.
fun, but it felt like kind of like backyard fightish, where it's
I
like
kind of wish they
you
would have
have.
kept that part of it. I really enjoyed it.
I get it, but it didn't feel like it felt like its own thing. It didn't feel like an extension of the UFC broadcast. Where like now it feels
Mhm.
very professional and is like a very serious like thing in the same way that like during the prime years of the Ultimate Fighter, that was a very like serious thing that like you're getting this opportunity and you're getting a platform and like you're this is your chance to show it and like all those serious speeches that Dana gave to the Ultimate Fighter guys in the first like 10, 20 seasons or whatever it was of like, hey, this is your one shot, and if you mess up, you're out of here, and you're not getting another shot. Like this is it, all or nothing. You got to be all in. And the Contender series kind of like ended up taking that respect, and then the Ultimate Fighter at the same time was like at an all time low of respect, where it's like people don't even bother to remember who won, and like some guys won it twice, and it's not even really a big deal.
Yeah, that's a crazy thing that like you win it twice and no one still cares.
Yeah,
Like I think that's also a part on the I don't know. I feel like if you win twice, oh man, I would be like there's some people who I feel like have that championship aura. You know what I
mm,
mean? That championship charisma. The CC, double C. You know what I mean?
mm,
CC like an email. Like there's some people who just have that championship charisma, right?
mm,
And it's got to be something that's in you, not on you. You know what I mean? Like where I feel that, let's say for example, right, Izzy, when first Izzy first came to the UFC, you could tell he had that championship charisma that he was must see TV. Even when he first showed up, he was just like, I want to see that guy fight. I want to see what he's doing next. I think he's going to be champion. And when he talked to you, you listened because you were like, I want to hear more. Same for like, let's say like Sean O'Malley when he first came. You know what I mean? Like Alex Pereira. Even though he doesn't talk a lot, man's got when you just the way he walks, the way he carries himself, he's got that championship charisma. You know, he came in, hit that little flying knee and knocked that dude out in the very beginning and just walked off. You just knew he was like, oh man, I'm here for whatever he's to talk about. You know, Charles Oliveira, the legendary Super Saiyan Oliveira, championship charisma. You know what I mean? Lupe Godinez, I know you keep on bringing her up, championship charisma. You know what I mean? Cyril Gahn, you know, you have all these people, John Jones, you know what I mean? Like, there are just some people who just have it, like, you know what I mean? And there's a list of more. There's a more list. There's more people who have that kind of like
Yeah.
that energy about them, but there's just some people who just don't. And I think you got to figure out yes, I think you got to figure out what is it that sets you apart, what makes you different, you know what I mean? Yes, you want to be a great fighter, but also I feel like your career is, you know, the UFC is a business at the end of the day. You know what I mean? Yes, you want to be a great fighter, but also what's going to set you apart from every other fighter on the roster? You know what I mean? Like, if there's 1,000 fighters on the roster, what's going to set you apart from all of them? You know what I mean? Are you
I
going to
mean,
be like
even beyond
your
that
brand?
though,
What's your brand? You know what I mean?
like even beyond that though, like if you've won the Ultimate Fighter twice, it's because like you were in the UFC and then you got out of the UFC. So like, and again, I can't remember the guy's name, so I don't know off the top of my head like how many wins, how
Again,
many losses, but
the brand.
it's surely like if he was undefeated, they weren't going to cut him. So, you know, it's how is it that a guy's making it through this tournament and then like you match him up with other unranked guys and he ends up being, you know, unsuccessful enough to say like, yeah, maybe send you back to the regional scene and like we'll see maybe in a couple of years if like you grow or something. Like I don't know. I think it just became like an awkward thing to try and do and it needed like a fresh up and maybe this like being more international is the way to do it, especially with the growth internationally of the sport and like these different shows that are out in like Europe and places where they're getting these massive crowds to show up and watch MMA. Like maybe that's the future of the sport is like you take the best from everywhere that you can get, you fly them into Vegas, and you just like see like okay, well, what do we got here?
Yeah, maybe. And also, I feel like for the dude, we're going back to 2 seconds, right? To the
Mhm.
person who won it twice. I think that one, I don't think it's so much a ball drop on of the Ultimate Fighter. I think it's also on the person. Because
Mhm.
even I remember during that season, I think we talked about it. He wasn't that memorable of a person. You know what I mean? Where like
Mhm.
also he was also kind of not like all the fighters you mentioned before, right? Like I think if I was good enough to win the Ultimate Fighter twice, let's say if I was out there, you gonna know who I am. You know what I mean? Like but also there's like you know they made a big deal about him winning the Ultimate Fighter twice, like the first person to do that twice, right? They try to give him the push. I feel like they try to give him the rub, but he just I don't know. It's yeah, just he just I feel like he didn't make. I think it was a missed opportunity from like a marketing perspective to like really build yourself on that. I don't know. I think it's like WWE. You know what I mean? Where it's like who are you know when their characters will go through a rebrand. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like Cody Rhodes went from like Cody Rhodes, that was team Ted DiBiase's son, and then he went to the Dashing Cody Rhodes Stardust to being the American Nightmare. You know what I mean? Like, or like Triple H through all of his changes. You know what I mean? Like, I think that is one of those things that's like, why should I care that you won the Ultimate Fighter twice? You know what I mean? Like, give the fans a reason to care. And I think that's a big part of it, too. It's like, out of all thousands of these people, I could watch a fight every weekend if I wanted to. Why should I want to see you fight? Why should I care you won this tournament? Why should I care you won twice? If you're a person who doesn't know much about the sport, you have to give people a reason to care. I think also, like, for the contender series, right? Like, think about how many stars have came out of it, or young and like up and coming stars, uh, up and coming prospects, right? In the last few years, right? We've had Sean O'Malley, we've had Jamal Hill, we've had Jelton Almeida, Bo Nickel, Gabriel Bonfim. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people who've really kind of, who are either champions, former champions, or people who are on their way. Like, I really think it's maybe early to say, but I think Gabriel Bonfim has something special. But I think that, but when you do it the opposite way around for the Ultimate Fighter, I really can't tell you. Like, I can tell you all the beginning ones, all the first like couple of maybe the first 10 seasons of the first, however, maybe first 5 seasons, maybe first 6 seasons, seven, maybe, you know what I mean, like of winners. But beyond that, I remember watching it. I don't know if I can remember maybe the last couple of winners, other than that dude who, like, we can't even remember the dude who won twice his name. And I think he, but speaking of that, right? Like,
Mm,
what's going on in the divisions, like what's going on with the shows, right? I
mhm.
think also Ultimate Fight, on the last note of that, Ultimate Fighters, I think it's back. Like, and also I think having Alexa Grasso and Valentino on the show were great. I think it's a big pop because, Alexa Grasso is amazing. You know what I mean? Like, she's awesome, and they've proved Team Lobo. I feel like I told you, Diego Lopez, Lupe Godinez, Alexa Grasso, those are some top tier people coming out of that gym. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, I feel like when City Kickboxing was like bursting on the scene with like Izzy and Kai Kara France and Dan Hooker, and you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
all like Carlos Ulberg, people's like City Kickboxing in New Zealand, top gym, and I think that's Team Lobo now, because it's hard to say Diego Lopez is not special. Like, that dude is special. You know what I mean? Like, every time he shows up, it is fascinating. It is an interesting fight, or a fun fight, right? I feel like it's a good time. It's a great time when he shows up to fight. It's a great time when Luffy shows up to fight, and it's a great time when Alexa shows up to fight. You know what I mean? But speaking of that, right?
Mhm.
I was talking about over the years and over time and stuff. You remember when the UFC's light heavyweight division was called like the Danger Zone, right? Because
Mm.
the that was like prime light heavyweight division, right? The old heavyweight division, right? Which one do you feel like is the most stacked division right now, and which one do you think has the opposite? Like, which one do you think has the most potential, like the most stacked division, the most potential, and who do you feel like is on the opposite end, at least, or has the biggest, uh, most star power, most potential, least power gap, whatever it is, most stacked versus not as stacked, the least.
Hmm. That's an interesting one because I think, just to mention, like, off the top, the light heavyweight division, I think, like, when you look back at all of the guys, especially like during that time period where John Jones was on his ascension, when you look at all of the names of the guys that were there then versus like the names of the top 15, top 10 now, I think there's definitely been like a quality drop off in that area. I think heavyweight, you could argue, is probably as good as it's ever been, just because like as the sport continues to evolve, you keep getting these like next level athletes that just weren't there in the early years of MMA, especially in the heavyweight division, where like most of those guys were just kind of like big and hit hard outside of like a few exceptions that everybody can name, like Joaquin Velasquez and JDS and uh, like guys like that, where they stood out for their skill, whereas everybody else was just kind of like big and hit hard. And now you have guys like Stipe, John's up there, Aspinall, Curtis Blades, uh,
Cyril Gahn,
Shelton Almeida, Cyril, and I
Derek
mean like,
Lewis, Tai Tuivasa.
well, those guys file into like more the old heavy,
Eh.
heavyweight style of terms of like big
Oh, you mean
body.
like as far as the athleticism and like
Yeah,
next level athletes? Yeah. I
well,
get what you're saying. Yeah.
they're probably better athletes than the other guys were, but in terms of like the same style of like big heavy bodies slanging and
Yeah.
banging, not really like cultured kind of like sweet
Hmm.
science kickboxing footwork and stuff like that. So like I think heavyweight has arguably as many like top guys as it's ever have. Like even a guy like Volkov, who is kind of like vulnerable sometimes to the one punch hitter quitter. Like even him, like his length and uh his jab and his footwork and his like super technical guy, and like got guys with longevity in their career. So like heavyweight's doing pretty good, but as far as like what division is the best division, that's a tough one. It's I think the most exciting division for me is 55. It's lightweight, but as far as like
Yeah. That's valid.
technical quality, I think it might be 45 because like you have
Mm.
Taporia, you have Volkanovski, you have
Hmm.
Holloway,
Hmm.
Ortega, Yair
Oh yeah.
Rodriguez,
Oh, stacked.
Evalev, Arnold Allen, Josh Emmett, Aljamain Sterling, Calvin Cater. I mean, like Diego Lopez, Dan
Yeah.
Ige. Like
Stacked.
the the top 15 at 45 is insane. Like, and there's a bunch
Yeah.
of different types of skill sets there. There's kickboxers, there's grapplers, there's guys who can mix it up really well at the top of the division. Like, it's 45 is probably the deepest, in my opinion, and probably 205 I would say is like the the most like kind of lightweight uh, of all the men's divisions.
I'm trying to. I could definitely see that. I was trying to find the whatchamacallit, the rankings as well. Let's see. I would say I would agree with. I think that 45 is very stacked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is. I think and it's switched over time, right?
Mhm.
Because I think in the back in the day, right? I think that was it was the opposite. You know how you said 55 and 45 are the most exciting or the most quality, right? And then
Mhm.
like 205 is kind of like kind of on the lighter side, right?
Yeah.
But back in the day, that was the opposite, where it was like 205 was the exciting division.
Mhm.
205 and 185 the two most exciting divisions in the UFC. You know what I mean? That was that. I feel like that was like the heyday, right? And the lighter weights, it was but right now, I feel like yeah, that's 45. Yeah, that's stacked. I think for me, it might be either 55, 70. I think it either might be lightweight or welterweight because same lightweight is very exciting. You got uh Islam, you got Charles Oliveira, you got Justin Gaethje, you got Dustin Poirier, Mateus Gamrot, like Michael Chandler, Rafael Fiziev, Max Holloway. You know what I mean? King Green. You know, so I feel like that's always going to be exciting. But then also at welterweight, I think welterweight. I've been telling people about this dude for
Oh, hold on. Technical difficulties. Okay, well, I'm just going to assume that he was talking about Shavkat Rakhmonov because he was talking about
okay,
170. Oh, there you are.
okay,
You're back.
there I am. My Wi-Fi was like, I've had enough of this. Man was like, no. Apparently, my Wi-Fi does not like the 170 division. I was like, wait, Shavkat Rakhmonov. It was like, no, the UFC 205 light danger zone. It was the best one. I will have none of this 205. Saying Shavkat Rakhmonov has been. I've been saying this guy is going to be a future champ since 2020. This dude is 18-0, 9 knockouts, 8 submissions, 100% finish rate. But outside of him, you have Leon Edwards, you have Kamaru Usman, you have Bilal Muhammad, you have like as far as excited, you know what I mean? You have Shavkat Rakhmonov, you have Jack Della Maddalena, you have Gilbert Burns, you have Wonder Boy, Michael Venom Page, Kevin Holland, Vicente Luque. You know what I mean? It's pretty good. Um, so I think that like there's a yeah like Leon Edwards, Kamaru, Shavkat, JDM, Gilbert, Wonder Boy, yeah, MVP, Vicente Luque, Kevin Hart. Yeah, I feel like it's pretty as far as that. And I think probably, in my opinion, where's the lightest right now? While I would, if you'd have asked me 2 years ago, I would have said light heavyweight. But I think that Alex Pereira and the Alex Pereiras, the Yuri Prohaskas, the Jamal Hills, those kind of guys toward at the top of it right now, I think have brought kind of like new life to the light heavyweight division, especially Alex Pereira. I think he's brought kind of like some stability to that division because
Well,
after
I think the
John
top
Jones
end of
went,
the division is fine. My problem more with it is like the depth. So like once you
oh
get
yeah,
outside of like the top 5, top 10 guys, like it's it's guys who are like older and who have already fought for the title, or it's guys who are like there's no realistic shot that they're gonna emerge into title contention. So like
oh yeah, I
Alonzo
wouldn't disagree.
Menafield, Dominic Reyes, Anthony Smith, uh,
I think
Johnny
Anthony Smith
Walker.
still has a chance though for the though. That just
Bro,
may be me as a fan, but
I
I
love
really
Anthony
do
Smith
think
too. He's a very nice guy, but he will
I
never
think
touch
he's still
gold.
I think he still I think I really like and this may be all feelings no facts, but
Okay, I think his Wi-Fi dropped again. So I'll say my piece on it. Anthony Smith, by all accounts, super nice guy, like amazing. It's an ambassador of the sport, everything. Uh, but as time goes on, it seems like his career is
I'm
going to
back.
be that. Okay, so I was just
My
giving
Wi-Fi.
my little speech on Anthony Smith, which is by all accounts nice guy. Uh, ambassador of the sport. But it, especially like his last performance, looking at his age and like the options that he has outside of fighting, the more we go on here, the more I'm thinking like it's just not going to come together for
See, the only pushback I would give on that, right,
him.
is yes, Anthony Smith is a very nice guy, right? Great for the sport. Uh, does he have his moments, Rick? Yeah, but I think that like does he? But does he have his moments? So you know what I mean? Because he's great for the sport. He's a very nice guy. He's also great fighter, right? Veteran, right? Battle tested. I think he has his moments where he's like he has his highs and his lows, right? But it's hard for me to say that like the last fight was like because of his last fight because he did take the fight on like what 14 days notice, 10 days notice or whatever, or 8 days
Hmm.
notice or something like that.
Yeah,
And he was already like, and it was against a guy who was strategically just a very bad matchup for him because he's a person who's already like, you know what I mean? Like the Carlos Ulberg fight, the reason he took that fight on short, and he also had his opponent changed like twice, right?
yeah,
Where the original, he took a short notice fight because yes, he does need to. I do, as a fan, I would say he does need to be more strategic about how he picks fights, just because if he didn't take the Khalil Roundtree, I think if I'm not mistaken, the Khalil Roundtree fight, I think he could have like rolled his way into another title shot. But Anthony Smith, love him or hate him, he's a fighter's fighter where he shows up and whether it's short notice, long notice, full fight camp, no fight camp, short fight camp, he shows up and fights. That's what he does, right? Like, but with the Carlos Oberg fight, he took it on short notice, and that was a good matchup for him because he was already helping Jamal Hill train for that fight. And then when he couldn't take that fight, and they said, "Hey, would you mind taking that fight?" Also, really big boss move to take that fight, right? Short notice, guy who's streaking. But if it, like outside of the last this fight, if you look at the other fight against a guy who was supposed to beat him, Anthony Smith showed him there's levels to this game. You know, when he had the full fight camp, he kind of took on that dude who was streaking, who was really hot at the moment. I can't remember his name, but he kind of finished him in I think the first round or second round by submission and showed him, hey, like you're, hey, go back to drum board. There's levels to this. You a level 40. This is you need to be at least level 50 to clear this boss battle. You know what I mean? But even when that fight changed and they gave him every light heavyweight who wasn't like already fighting, right? Like let's say for example, like Jamal Hill's injured, Alex is already in a fight, Yuri's can't take a fight because he just fought. You know what I mean? Every other light heavyweight turned the fight down. So they literally had to go find a middleweight and be like, hey, fight this dude. Would you fight? That's so crazy. They had to go find a middleweight. But I mean, like he did lose. At the end of the day, he did lose. But I would say that it was a very short notice fight and against a very bad strategic matchup. So I would say on 8 days notice, whatever. I think that like he should. I
I'm
think he
not
still got it. I think I would.
like I'm not holding his last performance super hard against him. I understand all of the factors. It's just like when I look at the guys ranked above him, so he's sitting at 11 right now, and when I look at the 11 guys ranked in front of him, including the champion, like I just can't see it. Like Alex, Yuri, Ankalaev, Hill,
I think he
Blachowicz,
beats Ankalaev.
Rakic, Krylov. I mean, like by the time where I say like, okay, he could beat him, we're at like number 7 with Volkan Uzdemir. He already lost to
I feel
number
like he
8,
beats
Khalil
Volkan Ozdemir.
Roundtree. Uh, I think he'd beat Johnny Walker.
I think so too.
Okay, and then
Like
Carlos
I like Johnny
Ulberg's in
Walker and I
front.
like most of these fighters, but I think
It's
Anthony Smith could be. I feel confidently saying he could beat everyone from like 10 to 4, 10 to 2, 10 to 2.
I don't
I
think that
think
he
that
beats
like
Jamal Hill ever.
what? What? I like Jamal Hill, but I feel like Anthony Smith could beat Jamal Hill. I feel very confident in saying that. Like, I feel 10 toes down in saying that. Like, if he took the right fights, right? Like, you give Anthony Smith a full proper training camp. You give him like you tell him, hey, this is who you're fighting. You give him a full proper training camp. He goes in there. I think that if the Anthony Smith that showed up 2 fights ago shows up, I think he beats everyone from downwards. I think I could I feel like confident saying he could beat 2 downwards. Like, I think he could beat Ankalaev with the right training. I think he could beat Jamal Hill, Blahovic, Rakic, Krylov, Volko, Ozdemir, Roundtree, Johnny Walker, Osberg,
Yeah,
right?
but he
I
just
think
fought
those are all good
Roundtree
matchups for
before and
him. But
lost.
no, but I mean, like, he did, but I mean, like, he had his moments that fight, right? I think the only 2 fights were the okay, I'm back. Am I back? Okay.
Mhm.
My
Yep.
Wi-Fi was like, I'm not hearing this. Agree with me with the Wi-Fi was like, I'm not here for this. Like, it was really not here for my Anthony Smith campaign. They were like, he's not gonna be champion. We're cutting your mic. But no, I think the only 2 fights where I feel like it's shaky, like I would be maybe 50-50 on, or like I would be like, or even like the only fight I think that I would be unsure if Anthony Smith could win is the Alex Pereira fight.
You have an admirable amount of confidence in Anthony Smith. You might have more confidence in Anthony Smith than Anthony Smith, respectfully. Like
I feel like
that's a lot. Like
I've
I
been
don't think
watching
that
his
he
fights
beats
for a really long
Yuri.
time.
I don't think he beats Alex.
What?
I don't think
No,
he
I
beats
feel like
Jamal. Like
I feel like, okay, I'm not to be rude, but I really think Anthony Smith beats Jamal Hill. You know what I mean? Like,
how?
yo, I feel
He's not
like,
going to
and it's
outstrike
not to
him.
be
I'll tell you
rude or
that.
anything, huh?
He's not going to outstrike him. I'll tell you that.
I think you give him on the right day. I feel like it's not to be rude, not being rude or anything to Jamal Hill because he's a great fighter, a great former champion. But I think that like you give him a full training camp where he showed up last time. You ain't got to knock him out. He could choke him sleep or make him tap. You know what I mean? But I think that Anthony Smith's grappling and jujitsu. Uh, okay, I thought my Wi-Fi was like Jamal Hill's winning. Conversation. I thought there was my Wi-Fi was like Jamal Hill's winning. Conversation over. Cut his mic. But no, I really do think that like, let's say for example, right? I believe Anthony Smith does definitely have a better ground game than Jamal Hill. I think his grappling is better. I think his jiu-jitsu is better
I'll
because
give you that.
like Jamal Hill, let's face it, he's not a grappler. You know what I mean? He's a striker. He's a good striker, really good striker, but he's not a grappler, right? Um,
I
but
would also add
also
the last time that we saw his grappling tested was
Paul
like,
Craig
yeah, Paul Craig, which was 3 years
and
ago. So he could have
Paul
absolutely
Craig
made,
broke his. Hmm.
yes, but he could have absolutely improved. And he did fight Glover Teixeira
Yeah,
for 5 rounds and did not get submitted, even though Glover has an excellent jiu-jitsu game himself.
yes, but I also think that like but also I really do think Anthony's striking. If you give him a full proper training camp, right, and he going into it full ready, I think Anthony Smith gets the finish. Like, the only one that I feel that like is like 50-50 is Yuri. The Yuri Prohaska fight, I'm okay. I'm like 50-50 on, but I still say Anthony Smith gets the win, right? Alex Pereira, I'm a big fan of Alex Pereira and I'm a big fan of Anthony Smith, and I feel like that's the fight that needs to happen because that's the the fans want to see. And hey, we've seen let's see. Am I back? Am I back?
Yeah, you're still there.
Okay. Okay, cool.
I'm just in
Hey,
disbelief.
say again.
I'm just in disbelief.
What? I don't understand where this leak is coming from.
I mean, for as recently as 2020, he lost by KO to Glover. He lost to Rakic. He's lost in 2022 by KO to Ankalaev. It's he lost a decision to Johnny Walker. If I remember correctly, I think that I had him winning that fight. Um, he got a split decision win over Ryan Spann. He lost by KO to Roundtree. Uh, submitted Petrino, and then
And
had
Petrino
his
was
just.
streaking, but
I know,
also,
but he hadn't
but
proven
also,
anything yet.
but I would say, right, even though that's what the paper says, a lot of those past fights
Hmm.
were very short notice fights. I think
Okay,
three of those fights that you mentioned were like short notice, like 10 days notice or
even
14 days
allowing that,
notice.
even
Like,
allowing that,
he's
like
a fighter's fighter. Yo, I'm telling you, if you
he's
give him a
about to
chance,
turn 36.
I think hey, I really do feel like if he were to, let's say if he could put together a Cinderella run, hey, fighters have turned it around.
Okay, I think the last one to kind of turn it around late in his career that you could give would be Glover. Okay, so Glover was what, 40 when he won the belt?
Okay, I
So
think I'm back.
yes, you are
I
back. And I was just saying,
okay.
like, the only one who's done it in the recent past would be Glover. Glover did it at 40. So even if we're saying Anthony Smith's window was until 40, okay, in 5 days he turns 36. So he has
Hey,
4 years and 5 days to become a champion.
I think he
And
does.
he
Hey,
just
Glover
his
did
last
it.
fight to a guy who's underneath him. So he has to rip off like 5, 6 in a row.
Glover did it. Randy Couture did it. DC did it. DC was like I think in his mid 30s when he won the championship. No,
Yeah, but John Jones was sitting on top the whole time. It's not like
but I'm saying of people who got the Cinderella story can happen. I feel like because hey, Glover Shear had his ups and downs. He still made it happen, right? I really
I
think
guess, but
I
I
really think a
I also
Cinderella
think
story could happen.
it's not great that in Glover's story he beats Anthony Smith in it very recently.
Hey, has he had his losses? This is true. Do I think that like he could make it? I think if I think if he really wanted to, I think he can do it. But that is just maybe just me as a fan. But you know which one I do think is probably the least stacked?
Which one?
I would say not the least stacked, but that has I think the one where you know how we went through the top 15, right? For like
Mm,
45, 55, 70, and it's stacked 1 through 15, right? It's going top to bottom. You put any of those fights together, it's an amazing fight, right?
mm.
And light heavyweight, I think Alex Pereira. Wow, we're big fans. You know, big fan, friend of the pot. You know, hopefully, if he ever sees this, he enjoys it, right?
He doesn't
But
speak
no,
English. We could just say it.
huh?
He doesn't speak English. We could just say it.
No, I mean like Polino might see it. Glover Cheer might see it and be like, "Hey, yo, these guys they rock with you." You know what I mean? Well, hey, Alex may see it because he tells me and says, "Hey, he might just rock with the vibes." He be like, "Hey, these guys look like they're having a great time." The vibes. Someone good, yeah. Um, but I think that the one that where you can't do that in right, we could make a card 45 through 75, 70, 45 through 70, right? 45, 55, 70 is top through 15. It's top stack to bottom, top to bottom. It's very stacked, right? You could pick a card, pick a fight. It makes a great fight. I feel like the only one that well, Alex brought stability to.
Man, his Wi-Fi just keeps going, huh? All right. Well, I'm gonna take a guess and say that he's gonna say 125.
I'm back.
Okay.
My Wi-Fi won't let me be great.
Okay.
My Wi-Fi won't let me be great out here. But I think that the one you can't do that in is probably heavyweight. I think the heavyweight's probably the the one where would probably be my choice, right? Because heavyweight has the biggest gap in skill, right? There's the biggest skill gap in, or like championship material gap. Right? You know what I mean? Championship. There's the biggest gap at heavyweight, right? Because
I think
and
this
it's
is
the
a
one where
consistent.
no one knows what's going on.
I think this is a
Huh?
consistent, like, opinion for you because if you're saying that Anthony Smith, who's ranked like 11 at 205, is good enough to be champion, well then yeah, it's heavyweight's gonna look worse by comparison. But I feel like most of us
Because
just go like Anthony Smith is not good enough to win the championship, and which is why I'm dogging on 205.
and hey, there's some good, but I think Alex Perez brought stability to light heavyweight because there was such a big
I know, but
hole
anybody can have like a top
in
end of the
heavy.
division. I mean, like even when heavyweight was like super weak, the top end was always good.
But think about this, right? The last since John Jones has left, right?
Hmm.
Of such a hole in light heavyweight, where even for a while, light heavyweight, it felt like even for a while, it felt like the light heavyweight division was like snake bitten for a second, right? Because it'd be like a champion and then they get hurt, a champion and then they would lose, or a champion and then they would get losers. Or like at one time, it was like 4 or 5 people in the top 10 were like injured and out of commission. You know what I mean? But
Hmm.
then Alex Pereira has came in like a full anime protagonist and said he will bring order to the light heavyweight division and bring peace upon the land. And he has done so. Like he has brought stability to the light heavyweight division, in my opinion, right? But when you look at heavyweight, right? I'm a fan of heavyweight, but when you look at heavyweight, right, there's the biggest gap. Like like
I will say there is one particular division that.
wait, let me finish real quick.
Okay,
I
go
would
ahead.
say the biggest gap in I don't know if it's skill gap's the right word, or like there's the biggest jump in uh in the levels.
Hmm. Okay, I guess if I'm not going to interrupt, the Wi-Fi will. That's interesting. All right, let's get him back in.
Drops me off.
There
Okay.
we go.
I would say it's John Jones, right? Like I don't know if you would agree, but I think it's Jones and Stipe at the very top, right? And then right underneath that, it's Cyril and Tom Aspinall, right? But after that, it's like this is like the next contender. You know what I mean? Like
I don't know until he proves me wrong again. I will say Curtis Blades belongs in the tier with Gon and Aspinall.
I don't have any criticisms towards that. I don't have a major pushback on that one, right? But like I think that while Tom like for Saturday's fight, right? Tom Aspinall
Hmm.
versus Curtis Blades. I think there's a 70% chance Tom Aspinall is gonna win that fight. Tom Aspinall is pretty much British John Jones. He's a younger British John Jones. His striking is great. His grappling is great. His jiu-jitsu is great. You know what I mean? Like there's no real hole in Tom Aspinall's game. I think that while Curtis Blades is the best wrestler in the division, I just don't see
Here's the thing.
him being able to stop Tom Aspinall.
I stand by at least his last one, and I will exaggerate and say further. All of Curtis Blades' losses come from not having a good game plan, or at least not following it. So I will believe that they will get the game plan right. And even though I would agree with you, if the game plan is bad, it's 70-30 Aspinall. But if the game plan is good, which I will blindly give faith to that they got it right this time, I think it's 55-45 to Curtis Blades.
Ooh, I would say 50-50, but hey, I'm not gonna push you on that one. I feel like because but even think about what we just said right there, right?
Mm.
John Jones is maybe 1 or 2 fights away from retirement
Hmm.
because he said he might fight Alex afterwards, or maybe Tom. That's like what interests him. Stipe is literally 1 fight away from retirement. I think Stipe is retiring after the John Jones fight.
Oh yeah, I think
So you
regardless
have
of result,
Tom,
I think
huh?
Stipe's done. I think this was the one Stipe was waiting for.
Oh, and then now Cyril Gunn. Because outside of that, Tom Aspinall and Cyril Gunn are the two best heavyweights in the division, right?
And
I
Curtis Blades.
can't see, huh? Say again.
And Curtis Blades.
We'll put him at three. And I think that while I'm a fan, like there's a couple of people I'm a fan of in heavyweight, right? Like, obviously it's Cyril and Tom and like I would say like Curtis Blades, I think he's a good fighter. Um Jelton Almeida, you know what I mean?
Mm.
Tai Tuivasa is always amazing. Tai Tuivasa and Derek Lewis are always fun to watch, and they're like two of my favorites. Um, but I don't see like Tom Aspinall or Cyril losing to anyone five and down. Like Rodrigo Nascimento is not being Tom Aspinall or Cyril. Uh, no offense. But like Cyril or Tom, the Earl Strike is good, but I don't know if he's good enough to beat them. Um, it's just when you're looking at two downwards, like there's I think 3 and 10 kind of got 3 and 11. They got their kind of like it's very separated, you know what I mean? Where you could look at the other like 45 or 55 or 70. You could look at the 10 guy and you could make an argument like this dude could give the champion a run for their money, right?
Mm.
Like Diego Lopez, right? Or if you took Dan Ige or like you took anybody, you can make that argument. But could you really make an argument that Spivak could beat Tom Aspinall or Cyril Gahn or
Mm.
even like Marcin Tybura? Could you say
I think Spivak might be able to beat Gon just because I don't know if he's worked on his grappling enough. Like I don't know what he's been doing. So if he hasn't like patched up holes, maybe Spivak could. But if he's done work on that and he can stuff like a couple takedowns, then no.
like Sergey Pavlovich is number 5, and we've seen Tom Aspinall dispatch him fairly quickly in the very first round. Where I think that there's heavyweights coming up, but I think that it's just the biggest gap at heavyweight. And no one knows what's going on at heavyweight because it's like, okay, I feel like there's so many people right now at heavyweight who there's a lot going on, right? Where it's like the match between not Cyril, Tom Aspinall and Curtis Blades, and then the winner of that, does the winner of that fight Cyril, or does the winner of that fight the winner of Tom, not Tom, John Jones and Stipe? But if Stipe wins, Stipe is probably going to retire. But if John wins, does John fight the winner of Tom and Curtis? If Tom
I think
wins, does
so.
John Jones fights Tom? Huh?
I think if John wins, I think he'll stick around for another.
And then does he fight? Does he fight? If Tom wins, right? Does he
Mm.
fight Tom Aspinall? And I think maybe. But if Curtis Blades wins, is John Jones gonna take a Curtis Blades fight? So, or does he
Maybe.
like, or does he wait for the Alex? And then if that happens, does Curtis Blades take on, or does Cyril Gahn need to take on another person?
Well, I
And
think
then if not,
the
because
interesting thing will be like, let's say John wins and Curtis wins, and John doesn't want the Curtis fight. Does he invite Alex up to heavyweight, or does he go down and we have who's the best 205er ever fight?
yeah,
Because
which
those
would be
fights
really
both work.
testing.
Like
Yeah,
Alex going for like triple champ status of 3 different weight classes, and John returning back to his old stomping grounds, which, like, based off when we saw him last, it looks like he could get back down to 205 pretty easily.
But probably be a year or so because he like 265 walking around now, so he'd have to cut like
That's what he
60
says.
pounds.
I don't know. I think he has to work really hard to keep that weight on. I think he's constantly like
60 pounds.
eating and lifting and like all that stuff. I think when you look at like his arms and how it didn't really like pack onto his frame like that.
Mhm.
I think that if he just stopped lifting and like boosted up the cardio and like stopped eating so much, I think that he could get back pretty close to what he was before in like you said, like maybe 6 months.
And that would be an amazing fight. It kind of proved the point that even that hypothetical is still not the heavyweight championship. If Curtis wins, we went into a whole another like super fight category. Like because
Well, that
that's
again,
the
it's a maybe. It's because
yeah,
like
that's
you never
amazing.
know.
Right.
It's at any point like as much as Tom's more natural and gifted in selling a fight than Curtis is. It's if Curtis just has a big moment that becomes like a big water cooler, like goes viral type of knockout, it's that'll be big enough that he could. Because like when Francis was on the come up, it was that his performances were the viral thing. Like he wasn't necessarily a great talker yet. Like he developed that more like once he got deeper into the UFC and got more comfortable around the mic and like became this fully like developed character in front of our eyes. But in the very beginning, he wasn't super like charismatic and comfortable yet. It was just that his performances would do all the work for him.
Yeah, and I there's a very real chance I may have to eat my words on Saturday if Curtis Blades pulls off the upset. And if he does, I will be very happy for him. I know we've been
Oh yeah,
I've been
dude, super
giving him
easy to root for.
yeah, I know I've been giving him a hard time right now, but it's not because I don't like him. I think he's a good fighter. It's just Tom Aspinall is just very good.
Yes.
And now if we're talking about if we took Cyril and Tom out of the conversation, I do think Curtis Blades would be the number one heavyweight.
Oh yeah.
But it's just like I would go out and say that is because the other heavyweights, there's a lot of strikers in heavyweight. Pavlovich, striker, uh the Derek Lewis and Taidu Vassars are strikers, Volkov's a striker, you know what I mean? Like and I feel like him being the best wrestler at the heavyweight, I do think he beats the rest of them. But that's what I was saying. It's just so big of a gap. Like Cyril and Tom against John. That's such it feels like that's such like the distance between it's a big difference. You know what I mean? It feels like that's a miles apart thing where you're like, ooh, I don't know if they could beat John Jones. But then from Cyril and Tom to the rest of the division, and I feel like, John, if you're looking at Cyril and Tom and John, right? You put Cyril versus John, which has happened, or like Tom versus John. You're like, I don't know if they could win the rematch or win that one, or I don't know. John Jones is John Jones, right? But then when you do the vice versa and you do Tom and Cyril against the rest of the division, it's still like, I don't know. Like you put against Curtis Blades. Curtis Blades is the underdog in that one, right? Where you're just like, ooh, Curtis is good. He's the best wrestler in the division, but I don't know if he could beat like Tom. You know what I mean? Because Tom's really good. But then vice versa from Curtis downwards, it's the same thing. There's such a big gap between each fighter or each like the fighters on it. That's why I put heavyweight. That's the end of my run.
Okay. Well, and I will just say the real like division that we're not talking about that is for sure like the weakest top to bottom is women's 135. like women's bantamweight, outside of like a few fighters, is really boring. Like Pennington's interesting right now because she has the belt, but like after that last performance, no one's excited for that. Like
Yeah.
you have Juliana out there, you have Kayla Harrison, and you have like a couple other like younger fighters who maybe will turn into something. But outside of that, like it's a whole lot of nothing.
There's 4, maybe 5 fighters. I would agree with that. I'm not gonna push back. I feel like there's 4, maybe 5 people tops in this division that are exciting. Because Caitlin Vieira, that's the girl with the anime tattoos, right?
No, I think that's
No, that's Pollyanna Vienna. I'm sorry.
yeah.
Yeah, that's Pollyanna Vienna. My sorry, my bad, my bad. Yeah, there's Juliana Pena, Kayla Harrison, Nisha Tate, and like Norma Dumont. That's it. Because Kayla Harrison is amazing. She
Yeah.
is, and like she's a star in the making. You know what I mean? And Juliana Pena is a star. You know what I mean? Misha Tate, a legend. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Uh, Norma Dumont, also really good. And like, but yeah, I just the Pennington versus Buena Silva fight. It wasn't what I expected it was gonna be.
That's what I mean, and that's like the champ and uh number 6 now in the division. Like, and that was the like fight quality that we all got to see. So like, it, it's it's not a good picture right now for women's 135. And I mean, like, they just got rid of 45 because like they couldn't fill it out. And then if you look at like if Misha and Holly Holm retire, outside of like Juliana and Kayla Harrison, who I think Kayla Harrison's like pretty close to the end of her career. Like, let's say Kayla's in it for 2 more years or 3 more years. Like, after that, you're just left with Juliana right now. Like, that if those other if Kayla, Misha, and Holly retire, who's Juliana gonna fight? Like, it'll just be her versus like no names, basically, until like either they close the division down or there's got to be at some point some like next crop, I guess.
And to that, right? That probably is as far as out of the three women's divisions. Yeah, bantamweight's probably the outside of the fighters we just mentioned, outside of Juliana, Kayla Harrison, Misha Tate, and Norma Dumont. That's probably the weakest division as far as talent wise go. Because if you look at the other two, women's
Oh yeah, I
flyweight
mean,
is stacked.
115 and 125 are fun
Yes,
divisions.
exactly. One like flyweight, weight. Yeah, flyweight and strawweight are
Mhm.
stacked, fun divisions. They're fun. Like literally, flyweight. You have Alexa Grasso, who's amazing. We've already been Alexa Grasso, who's amazing. We've already been through this. How she's great. The Valentina Shevchenko, a legend. Manon Fiorot, also really great. So you have Manon Fiorot, Aaron Blanchfield, Macy Barber, Rose, Jessica Andrade, Natalia Silva, who's I feel like I know you're very big on.
Mhm.
I am also very big on. We I would say we both say that she has star potential
Yes.
because yeah, she's on her way. Amanda Hebos, Tracy Cortez, you know what I mean? Like You're talking about out of the top 14, there's like 10 or 11 like top tier people or really fun fights you can make. You know what I mean? Or top
Mhm.
in the division, right? Stacked. And then strawweight, you have Whaley, who's amazing. You have Tatiana Suarez, amazing. Yao Shannon, Amanda Lemos, Jessica Andrade, Vierna, Marina Rodriguez, Mackenzie Dern, Amanda Hibas. Wait, is she on here twice? Yeah, she is on
Yeah,
here twice.
she's in both divisions because like it's sometimes she'll take a short notice fight on either.
Angela Hill, Rupi Godinez, which we've already said I've already said multiple times she will be a champion. Tabitha Ricci, you know. Again, it's just what again out of the top 15, 11 very big like either stars or future stars. So
They're just fun fights. Like
or fun fights
yeah,
like strawweight, women's strawweight and women's flyweight are the two best
yeah.
ones. I feel like if this is yeah that you're good. It's yeah yeah that's true. Because yeah, if, Misha Tate and Kayla Harrison retire, then like Juliana Pena is just kind of waiting on Norma Dumont to make her way up. She at 10 right now.
That's what I mean. Is like it's if Holly and Misha, which like Misha's not super active anyway. Like if they both retire, which Holly's gonna be soon,
Mhm.
it's like once they're gone, there's there's gonna be very few people of interest in that division at all. Like there's also, I mean, there's already very few, but I mean, once they're gone, like who's tuning in for this unless it's gonna be Juliana selling a fight? Like
Juliana will be literally carrying it. And I feel like the
yeah,
fight everyone wants to see is Juliana versus Kayla Harrison.
yeah. But that's the
I
thing
feel
is
like
like
that's the fight to see.
Kayla Harrison
Or
already
Kayla
had like a
Harrison,
whole career. So like again, if
she's the
like
greatest judo.
yeah, like let's say we get one more year of Misha and Holly, okay, like and we get 2, 3 more years of Kayla, like Juliana's gonna be in her 30s still, like looking around like where's everybody else? Like what am I supposed to do?
She would just run the division until someone comes. Yeah, because yeah, the
Yeah, well,
yeah,
we're at we're at one almost an hour 40, so it's I think we're good to wrap it up there, unless you
yep.
got anything else.
Nope.
All right.
Let's wrap it up. Get up on out of here. There's the music. There's the show. That's the show. It's been fun. We hope you had a good time listening because we had a good time recording. If you agree with us, that's awesome, cool, great. We appreciate you. If you don't, hey, we're just two dudes chopping it up on.
We at least passed the time for you.
Yeah, at least we passed the time for it. We're just chopping it up. We're just two dudes. But we appreciate it. Hope you run other episodes. Until then, have a great night. Have a great day. Peace, love, positivity. All right, bye.